Now, most of the people who are listening to this have opted, knowingly or otherwise, to take the red pill. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, you'll know that the hero is offered a red pill and a blue pill. The blue pill basically doesn't do anything. The red pill takes him on an adventure to try and understand his reality. Well, we can't understand our reality. The only thing that we can really understand is our dream, which I suppose you could say is our reality, but they're just words. So this title, Fitness Kills Truth, is taken from the book by Hoffman. And let me at this point say that there are more and more people and movements developing to effectively reveal the great truth that Kant revealed 250 years ago, or however long ago it was. The truth that our minds have a structure, and that structure determines our reality. Our reality, not the reality, because there is no the reality. And being what we are, and essentially wanting to survive, Spinoza's Conatus, our reality or the shape of our mind is formed by what is successful in terms of how our mind is structured and what is unsuccessful. Obviously, if our mind is formed in a way that makes us see lions as trees, then we're probably not going to exist for very long. So fitness, survival fitness, kills truth. We have some idea of the truth. In fact, the whole idea of truth is ridiculous. People talk about truth. They don't really think about what they're saying. What do they mean by truth? We can talk about truth in terms of logic, but that's not really what people are talking about. Anyway, this all should become as clear as mud as we go through it. Our situation, as I've explained endlessly in other podcasts, is that we are slaves. We are blindfolded slaves. We don't really understand the environment that we're in. We don't understand anything in truth that is of importance. The old metaphysicians, the old philosophers prior to Kant, would talk about God and about purpose and about the soul and the creation of the universe and so on. With absolutely no data, no experience to draw upon, just all conjecture. And Spinoza is an example of a rationalist that basically believed that he had a God's eye view of the world. So, because he could think, and because he lived in a world of extension, of distance, physical stuff, he believed that those were qualities of God, of the ultimate reality. And that's how all the philosophers were. They believed that, particularly the rationalists, people like Leibniz and Descartes, they believed that we had a God's eye view of the world. Kant came along and said, no, you don't. You have your view of the world, and that view of the world is shaped by the way your mind is shaped. So you're living in a kind of dream. I mean, it's not wholly a dream, but it's a representation of reality that your mind forms. Well, I'm using the word reality there. You're going to have to excuse, this is a difficult topic. There is really no reality, but our mind forms the picture that suits our purposes, that helps us survive. Fitness kills truth. You can see here I've got this actually two diagrams I've lifted out of Hoffman's book. I'll get onto that in a moment. So, what did Kant say? Kant said that time, space, causality, objects are the form of our reality. They are the theatre in which our reality unfolds. Causality is not a property of... I'm going to use the word again, but hopefully you know what I mean. Anyway, causality is not a property of reality. It's not a property of the way the universe actually is, or the way existence actually is. It's the way we represent it to ourselves, and it's turned out to be useful. Same with time and space. There is no time, there is no space outside of our particular consciousness, outside of the way we represent existence to ourselves. And because there's no time, there's no birth and there's no death. So, hopefully you can see that this is not just a neutral philosophical discussion. It's very important because it gives us a view on our particular experience of the world. But when we understand that our experience of the world is not the world, then all of a sudden a whole pile of things open up. We don't know what opens up, we just know that, oh shit, yeah, birth and death, they're in time. Time is a property of my consciousness. It's not a property of the world as it really is, or the world... It's not a property of existence. So this, this going down this rabbit hole, and it gets very, very deep, is a kind of liberation. Our mind starts to understand that what it thinks is solid, definite, is nothing of the kind. Birth and death we don't know what they are. We don't know. In this crazy fucked up universe, we have no idea what birth and death of the body is, other than a representation in our minds. So, if you read Hoffman, he does refer to Kant actually, but he's lifted a lot of stuff from Kant. In fact, you could almost say that his main ideas have just been lifted straight from Kant. So Hoffman says, causality, forget it. Causality is just a property of the way we see the world, the way we see existence. It's not actually part of existence, it's part of our minds. He says the same thing about time and space. In fact, he quotes some physicist who said space, time and objects are history, meaning that space, time and objects, physicists are now seeing that actually there's a deeper reality than space, time and objects. So let me talk about this slide here, the fitness kills truth thing, because this is very important. How is your mind, or what forces have played out to form your mind as it is now formed? Well, I'll go through this slowly because this is an important little experiment. It's a thought experiment at the end of the day. According to Hoffman and a lot of people now, the thing that has shaped our mind above everything else is evolutionary forces. The desire to survive, the drive to survive, what has been successful and what has not been successful, the desire to dominate, to reproduce, all of those things that are to do with existence, the desire to continue with our existence, as Spinoza might say. So, this little experiment involves a creature called a critter. There are two kinds of critter. There's a truth critter and there's a fitness critter. Now, critters depend on stuff to exist. But as you can see from that top graph, the fitness points, in other words, how much the stuff contributes to their existence, varies by the amount of stuff that they have access to or consume or whatever. So if they consume a small amount, there's hardly any fitness points. If they consume a very large amount, there's no fitness points. So there's a medium amount of stuff they can consume that serves their fitness, their survival prospects very, very well. I mean, the stuff could be oxygen. If you have no oxygen, you're dead. If you have all oxygen, you're dead. Somewhere in the middle, there's a point where you get the best amount of oxygen. So, how do the two kinds of critters view stuff? Well, the truth critter, and one thing you have to understand about these critters is that their mind is binary. They detect small to medium amounts of, the truth critters detect small to medium amounts of stuff as grey, as the colour grey, and medium to large amounts of stuff as black. So they're a truth critter. They are measuring the amount of stuff that's available. Very crudely, it's either grey or black, but it is a measure. Small to medium or medium to large. Whereas the fitness critters have become sensitive to how much the stuff is benefiting them. So they too have only grey and black, but they know that a small amount of stuff is not good for them, so it's grey. A large amount of stuff is not good for them, so it's grey. But medium amounts of stuff is good for them, and that's black. Now, the truth critter has no measure there of what is good for it. It's just measuring the amount of stuff. The fitness critter has determined how much stuff is good for it and how much is bad. And it knows that if it's in a black area, then yeah, that's okay. If it's in a grey area, then it's got to move out of that somehow. It's a very simple example. But it's showing you that if we were just pursuing truth, we would have no means of knowing what is good for us, bad for us, and so on. And so our world becomes shaped by how fit things are for us. And it turns out that space, time, causality, seeing the world as objects, are proven to be very, very successful. We are fitness critters. There isn't really no space and time. There are really no objects. There is really no causality. We have created, on the right hand side there, that fitness critters, what would you call it? It's gradations, grey, black, grey, space. Oh, that's a long way away, I'm not going to bother with that. Oh, this is near. So you can see how that would work. Here's an apple on a tree. Oh, it's only 2 meters away. Yeah, I'll go and get that. But there's another apple there. Oh God, that's a mile away. I'm not going to go there and get that. Or time. Well, it's going to take me 3 days to travel to wherever to get this, or to hunt these creatures. Or 2 hours down the road there's some of these creatures and I can go there. So developing these concepts of time and space as fitness critters. And what the amazing thing actually is that Hoffman has got some mathematicians and physicists involved in all this, and they have mathematical models of this, and fitness kills truth very, very quickly. Very quickly. That's if you believe that there is such a thing as truth. Personally I don't, but let's not complicate it. There is, in my opinion, a kind of weakness in Hoffman's arguments, because he goes on later to talk about conscious agents. Actually, the only thing in the world is consciousness. But, how can he say that when we are trapped within our mind as it is constructed? We have absolutely, as Kant would say, we have not the faintest way into seeing another kind of world. We are trapped in our world, space, time, causality. All the mental structures that have proven to be very, very successful for us. We're fitness critters, and we're very, very good ones as well. The truth critters died out years ago because they couldn't, they were addicted to truth. Oh yeah, small to medium amount. Oh yeah, we're in the medium to large amount. Not knowing that the far end of the medium to large amount would be killing them or something. So that's his proof. It's a bit tedious. I don't really like these kind of things because, I like Kant and Spinoza, so I'm not going to spend any more time on Hoffman. But it's a very important point. Kant tells us that we're living in this kind of dream, but what Hoffman is suggesting is actually this is how the dream has been formed. By finding the things that allow us to perform better in this world. We don't know whether ants and dogs and whatever live in space and time. It's something Kant remarks upon quite remarkably. And I have a number of books now on evolutionary psychology. It's boring as hell, but actually there is some useful stuff in there. And Kant is mentioned in a number of them. He did some work. He wrote a couple of books actually on anthropology, which I'll touch upon at some point. And he made some astonishing predictions. So he was quite a character, was Kant. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I keep promising to move on to Schopenhauer. Next one will. I promise, as far as I'm able to promise anything, be on Schopenhauer.